I have not done a speakdom here on this channel for 2 months. The reason for that's because I decided to kind of take a step back and sort of think and learn and try to kind of go in my own head and go into this sort of pathway of discovery. 2020 has been the toughest year for a lot of people. We've got people who are losing their loved ones due to the pandemic. We've got lots of loneliness going around. We have a lot of people who feel very, separated from the world. We've got unemployment issues. You've got people losing their jobs. This is serious stuff. I mean, it really is very serious stuff. And, no matter what your political beliefs are, the truth is that people are suffering right now. And I have suffered in 2020 pretty bad myself. But there are people who have it worse. And I have to always think about this and say, some people have it worse than me. And so, yeah, I'm going through my stuff. But, there's some folks who are struggling to make ends meet. And it's really, really unfortunate. So I wanted to make a speakdom about anxiety, because my biggest battle this year is anxiety. And I want to talk to y'all about the dangers of anxiety, because some of y'all, not some, everybody has anxiety at some point. Anxiety is something that we have as a human being because it is basically a defense mechanism. Anxiety is something that Mother Nature or God or just the evolution of human, whatever you believe, has instilled in us as a form of defense. It's a fight or flight response. Anxiety is there so that in case we're about to get hurt by an animal of the wild or another person, the fight or flight response kicks in and we can, at that point, defend ourselves properly and protect ourselves and keep us alive. That's what anxiety is. But unfortunately, what has happened is that anxiety, because of our past trauma, because of things that happened to us when we were younger, because of things that happened to us when we were little kids, it has triggered things that trigger the anxiety. It's created insecurities that trigger the anxiety. And unfortunately, what ends up happening with anxious people, or people who have an anxious attachment style, or people who just, have, trauma in their past, is that they are doomed to repeat it. The reason why I'm making this video is because I'm hoping that it goes out and reaches people. I'm hoping that people will watch this video and really sit down and understand this problem with anxiety. Because anxiety can literally ruin and destroy friendships and relationships and hurt other people. Your anxiety can hurt other people, because what happens is when you have anxiety, when you have fears, toxic fears, when you have loneliness, and unfortunately the pandemic has made this much worse. If we were not in a pandemic, this wouldn't even be an issue. But it is an issue because of the pandemic, because, we are not seeing or interacting with people as much as we used to, and it just kind of dwells in your head. Your loneliness is killing you, like Britney Spears said. She was wise when she said that, even though the song wasn't really about that. So what happens with your anxiety is that when you have anxiety and you feel alone, you feel upset, you tend to become very self-absorbed. And this is because the fight or flight response kicks in. You become very self-absorbed, and then what happens is that, not selfish, listen to me, self-absorbed, where you don't think about somebody else and what they're going through, or think about what they might need from you. You only just focus on yourself. And that's not a good thing. It's not, but again, don't think it's selfish. It doesn't make you a selfish person. It's your emotions creating a defense response, right? So what happens is when you become very self-absorbed, you become very needy, and because of that, you push people away, especially if you have abandonment issues, which I certainly have. In the past 7 months in going to therapy, I have discovered that I have a severe abandonment issue from things I dealt with when I was a child with my mom and dad. Whether it be my parents dying before I hit 30, or, things, my parents sort of abandoned me before then, because my dad did leave me and my mom for a few months when I was a teenager, and also a lot of the lies my parents said. And I've been trying to work through this, in therapy, and I feel a lot better about it. But the anxiety is always there, the pain is always there, the trauma is always there, the loneliness is always there. So you can imagine having anxiety is already bad. But having anxiety and loneliness during a pandemic, you become a monster. You literally become a monster, and it's not who you really are, and it's not you. You know what I mean? It's just not you. And so you become very self-absorbed, and you push people away. You know, and it's not cool. It's not a good thing. It's not something that you should be proud of, because it's not. And sometimes when you do these things, you know, you hurt them so bad that that's it. Like, you know, you can't do anything about it, even if you apologize. You know, I like to think that people are more open-minded, but not everybody's like that. You know, everyone's different. And your anxiety can cause pain in other people. And then what happens is when you stop feeling the anxiety, or when time goes by, you soon realize the mistake that you made, right? And at that point, the only thing you can do is apologize like an adult. Be an adult and apologize, and try to make them understand at least what happened to you, and more importantly, work on yourself and figure out what your triggers are, figure out how to get real deep into that inner child, as they call it, and figure out how to prevent yourself from making that mistake again. I have anxiety right now making this video. I believe it or not, I do, because thinking about anxiety causes anxiety. Anxiety is a very dangerous thing. That goes back to the video that I made where I talked about the video I made called Why I'm So Defensive. You know, I'm getting a little bit deeper here, because it all does go back to anxiety and fear. You know, I've been dragged through the mud my whole life. And because of that, when you get dragged through the mud a lot, I've been bullied. I talked about it before. You end up sort of becoming this irritable person. You know what I mean? And that's just not who I am or who I want to be, and who I'm not anymore. I'm really not. You know, it's meant a lot to me, because I have had people reach out to me who I haven't spoken to in a very long time, and they tell me that I have changed. There's people who I had drama with in the past who told me that they felt like I changed. And that means a lot to me. It really, really does, because it means that people who don't see you on a day-to-day basis will notice the change and say, damn, who used to see you on a day-to-day basis, and be like, damn, like you really are different, you know. And I'm very proud of that. But at the same time, I'm making this video because I want to share it with everybody. I know I'm not the only one, because anxiety is a real thing, you know. Dealing and coping with loss and abandonment, these are very difficult things that are just totally heartbreaking. You know what I mean? It's just complete heartbreak. But we all have to deal with it as people. We all have to deal with it as human beings. No matter what, we have to deal with it. But the good news is, if you work on yourself through CBT and other forms of therapy, actually seeing a therapist, you can then soon learn to control it. But it's going to take time. And it's also a never-ending journey, because you're going to go through life. You're going to have bad days where you're really anxious. You're not going to be able to sleep. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night afraid of being lonely, afraid of losing somebody who you love, afraid of pushing people away, afraid of the unknown future, right? That's going to happen. The idea is, when that happens, you breathe, drink a little water, you know, and really try to let the anxiety pass. It almost has to go through you, you know what I mean? And I'm saying that because I think a lot of people make mistakes in life. Well, we all do, but I mean, people make mistakes, and a lot of it's based on fear. It's almost like you're afraid to lose something, and then because of that, you lose it, which is what happened to Anakin Skywalker in Revenge of the Sith. And I'm going to do a whole video about this, actually, because I really think that people need to rewatch that movie with this in mind and understand exactly what happened to Anakin Skywalker. And I'm going to tell you why. Yes, the prequels have problems. Yes, the prequels are not perfect, but there is some insight there. When George Lucas wrote those films, he was an older man. He had already been through a divorce. He had already been through a lot of trauma. He had children. He was a different guy than he was when he wrote the original trilogy. And because of that, he had a deeper insight into the world. So even though the prequel trilogy might have a ton of issues, the Anakin Skywalker fall, which I actually did have issues with as well, but it's very real, which I'll do a whole video on at some point. You know, the idea here is, if you have anxiety and if you have fear, there are exercises you can do, there are things you can do, but just be really, really careful, because you don't want to push away the wrong person. You don't want to hurt somebody. You don't want to do that, because what's going to end up happening is you could hurt them and it'll eat you up inside just as much. You're going to have guilt kick in. You're going to have remorse, and you're going to miss them. You know what I'm saying? You're going to miss them every day sometimes. You know, and you can try to be cool with them again and try to be their friend again. It might not happen, or it might happen. It just depends. Because I think a lot of folks don't understand that anxiety is something we all deal with. You know, some people have it worse than others, especially somebody like me who's very damaged. But I'm not using that as an excuse. But that is the trigger to do better and to improve and to try to be a better person. That's the only thing you can do. Really put in some work. Really take time. Instead of playing video games, or instead of, you know, goofing around on YouTube for 6 hours, take maybe an hour to read some stuff, to meditate. That's what I've been doing. You know, that's why I was away. That's why I didn't upload for so long. I really needed to take time. And I had already been doing this, but I mean really take time and focus on how to improve, and focus on how to become better, and focus on making sure that the mistakes that we make in the past don't happen again. Ever again. Ever. I'll do more videos on this if you want. Let me know. Very personal topic for me, but one that means a lot to me, and one that I really hope that if you have anxiety, to please try to understand what I'm saying, and how it's a killer and it'll kill you, and you have to fight it and go through it, but you'll come out better in the end. So I hope you liked the video, and I'm back doing Speakdoms. We'll talk soon.